Grand Rising, and welcome to the Voice of Cheryl. This YouTube channel is a channel of my own personal opinions, thoughts, life experiences that I want to share with my community. As a people, we tend to believe all things, see all things, hope all things, pray for all things. And unfortunately, we miss out on a lot of things. As a mother, your life changes. And it changed in more ways than one. What I've come to know in my 62 years of living is that the stages that we go through, much of them are already set for us. And because of the direction and the teaching that we receive, we just kind of act out a role in somebody else's play. As you grow and experience life, you then start taking a turn for yourself and you start seeing things maybe a little bit different than you were taught. But because it goes against everything that you've been taught, you kind of push it to the back burner. We're in 2021 and we're in a crisis, family. We are under attack. And we don't seem to understand, innerstand, or overstand that it is by design that we're under attack. For the last, I would say, approximately 6 weeks, we've had a young man who's taken over the airwaves of YouTube, basketball player, Mr. Kwame Brown. Unfortunately, I'm not a sports fan, so I don't know any of them. But when I started following his story, what a tremendous story it is. One of triumph, poverty, seemed to be defeat, hopelessness, intelligence, love, nurturing, life and all of its happenstances. If you're looking for a good novel, truly his life story is the one to read. And you don't have to wait until it's in a book. He tells us about it. He tells us how he made history. And we love to talk about history. Unfortunately, the only history we like to talk about is the history when we were in bondage, not realizing that we're in the same bondage today. Nothing's changed. You heard the saying, the more things change, the more they seem the same. Well, when you don't know who you are, that's the true statement. And unfortunately for us, we don't know who we are. So what I'd like to do is bring you a few snippets of my life, my thoughts, and hopefully it can help somebody. I want to go back to Kwame because it's very important. The message that he's spreading and everyone is attempting to keep him from talking about is a message that's well deserved. Our children need it. And I found in dealing with people, it's kind of hard to get an individual who are set in their ways to see something different or have an open mind. In one of his videos, he was explaining about when he was in the third grade, and well, actually in elementary school, and he was taught, how to have a dialogue. And in order for you to do that, you have to ask some questions. And some of us may remember those questions, those 4 W's, and could be 5, and that's what, when, where, why. It's 4. Sometimes how. And then you would pose a question and you would wait for the response. And then that's effective communication and open dialogue. Unfortunately, I'm not good at that. Ooh, Lord, this is funny. But I am not good at that. And I consider myself a connoisseur of words, the consummate communicator, but I am telling you a damn lie because I can't listen to stupidity. And listening to Kwame, I see I'm really cutting myself out of some things. It's very hard for me to listen to someone who I know is blowing smoke up my ass and telling me it's a choo-choo train coming down the track. Choo-choo. Can't do it. But I'm learning. And believe it or not, I'm even willing to change. And all we need is a desire, right? Shit, we may not ever do it, but we have the desire to do it. And so that's what I'm going to try to do, is change. And I'm going to change before your eyes, I hope, to get better. But one of the things he speaks about most is the feminizing and the emasculating of our men. And it's the man that shows, I'm searching for a word, I guess that would probably intimidate the colonist, would be potential to be great. The man that speaks for himself. And I'm going to start as the boy. The boy. I like to look at the animal kingdom. One thing I've learned about religion today, true religion, I've learned that the constitution of men should be in harmony with nature. And when I look at nature, I look at all facets of nature. And so let's go to the animal kingdom. And we know the king of the jungle, that's my favorite. And if you look at that family line, that bloodline, you will find that the king, basically all he does is sleep, eat, reproduce. But the most important is he protects the pride. He protects the pride. The lioness, her job is to nurture, feed, hunt, cook, if you will. Mama's cooking. Oh, that Kwame is great. I love it. But that's her job. And so what we do is we watch the dynamic of the family. In the animal kingdom, everything is set on cycles. And once you reach the cycle of life in the animal kingdom, whatever that number is, life changes. We as human beings are the only individuals that gets an opportunity to stay with mom forever, make decisions against our parents. we have the opportunity to do so many different things, supposedly on an intellectual level. Unfortunately, we're not taught intellectually. We're taught subserviently. And so, therefore, we're mostly indoctrinated and carry a slave mentality. Many will argue with me and disagree, and that's okay. I have not a problem with that. I know that I've worked the majority of my life, 40 years to be exact. And then I've had a lot of jobs in those 40 years. And what I come to know is, out of all of those jobs, I was the one that always had to fight. I'd go to work, I'd do my job. I was the best me I could be. Didn't compete against other people. I competed against myself. But other people seem to have a problem with me because of my, what I call, my value system, my integrity, my honesty, my tenacity, my humor, my willingness to work individually or as a team. I find that people really have a problem with that. And the saddest thing about it, people actually have a problem with your presence, your countenance, your personality, the things your creator gave you, your life. People have a problem with that. So I spend a lot of my time fighting. And trust me, the majority of those fights were against people that looked exactly like myself, male or female. And I cried many a days, stayed up a many a nights, wrote a many a memos and letters. But I've always believed in me, and I got that from my creator, which I like to call my mama and my daddy. So many times we are misled, and we're the only group of people that I know that pray without ceasing, give that we don't have, hope and dream, and wait, watch. Unfortunately, we're getting shot down in the streets. We're getting carted off to prison. We're addicted to all types of mind-altering substances. And we had one of the worst addictions there is, and that's that crack cocaine. And nobody saw fit to call it an epidemic or get us some help from the government, as we call it, the government. Our children are being abused at a rate that's, it's really unthinkable. Our young boys are reading at a 4th grade level or less. And I've seen from my own experience what we do with those young boys. Unfortunately, we don't reaffirm them, so we have them dumbing themselves down so they can fit in with the other fellas. Because after all, everybody wants to fit in somewhere. I hear a lot of people with their grandiose and braggadocious attitudes and talk about who they are as individuals, but I say look at their families. Where they come from, and who came from them. See how they communicate and how they live. And our people love to pride themselves on how great they keep their house clean and pristine. And I should say pristine, because remember, I'm a connoisseur of words. And I'm one of those people that are always correcting people when they get shit wrong. And I be fucking up so many words lately. I have to laugh at myself. Oh, Lord. It's funny. Because I would correct you in a heartbeat. And I don't even have a problem when you correct me. But I have a problem with when you don't know shit and you're trying to check me. That's where I have a problem. I'm not much, but I'm all I got. And I've done well in this life with balancing, especially starting about 7 years ago when I wanted to know. I asked myself a question because I have a beautiful son who went off to college, and I'm so grateful that he is who he is because his mom wasn't able to give him a free ride, nor was she able to encourage him to make sure you have a 4.0 so that you can get scholarships and fellowships and a free ride. I gave him what I had, and that's be the best that you can be. I should really sue DISD. That's where I went to school, Dallas Independent School District. And I should sue them because I don't feel like they taught me shit. Some of that is not DISD, it's me. Because I have a streak of brilliancy. Shrouded by procrastination. At one point, low self-worth, low self-esteem, fear, tragedy. And when you have all of those things mixed up together and you have to live in a world in which we live, a world where you're denied a nationality, a world where you're denied individuality, a world where you're denied your birthright. And the sad part about it is you don't even know that. That's what hurts. When you look at all of our great, great leaders, as they're called, I never could understand, understand or overstand. Well, we're the only people in the world that everybody hated. I mean, no matter where you go, if you look like me, you were hated. Didn't understand that. Understand or overstand. I do today. And I really would like to help my people because I've overcome some things. I've had some life experiences that are really some life experiences. I'm grateful to say I'm not one of those who can brag on catching bodies. You know, that's some crazy shit there, in my opinion. But there are people who really done that for whatever reason. I'm an individual that I talk about everybody I know, good, bad, or indifferent. I really do. And the difference between me and most people, I can honestly tell you that. I've had friendships that were so close to me, they felt like they, were my relative, only to wake up one day and those people weren't there. I don't know, perhaps it's something I said, something I've done, but I always check myself, and if in my conscious, using my compass, if I know I've done nothing to you that I look at as crossing the line, and you've shared nothing with me that you felt I crossed the line, then to you be your way and to me be mine. I don't have a problem today with letting you go. And when I felt all the emotions that I felt when different relationships ended, and I mean this friendships, uh, family ships, kinships, male to female relationships, and that's different guys that I've dated and even married. I went through some things going through the breakup, breakdown, separation, departure. But it was all worth it today when I look at the truth and the things that we as a people have overcome. And we don't even realize we've overcome so much because there's so much about us we do not know. And I meet these people who are brilliant in their own right. But when I come to know that there are degrees of knowledge, and in that quest for knowledge, we have to learn the truth. Once we learn the truth, we have to tell it. My daddy taught us that the only thing wrong with the truth is people don't want to tell it. And the only thing wrong with right is people don't want to do it. So I said all that to say he also shared with us that the truth will get your ass killed just as quick as a lie. Believe that. An accident death, you stay dead just as long. Oftentimes people tell you, don't you say nothing, Cheryl. Don't you say nothing. Because they're going to do something to you. That same daddy that I had taught me, if you was born to burn, you ain't going to drown. And since I don't determine that outcome, I live life to the best of my ability. I make mistakes along the way. When I know I've harmed someone, I seek forgiveness. When I don't know, I have no thought of it. There are some people who just don't want to fuck with you. So you cannot make it up to them, whatever the harm they feel you've done to them. Or if you know that you actually harmed them. But what you can do is just do better and help someone along the way. I love Kwame's story, and I love what he's talking about as far as our children. We all say we love the children, but the children is who's lost in this whole situation. And it's generation after generation. And then our good Christians say, generational curses, we got to break them. But we don't even want to know who we are. We have all these brilliant scholars. You know, they call themselves scholars. But they too were indoctrinated And we're under the education philosophy of Frederick T. Gates and J.D. Rockefeller, where they said we're going to teach them that where they are is where they want to be. Meaning we're not going to teach them anything. We're not going to give them the opportunity that we give our children, because we're not going to get any doctors, any lawyers, any journalists, any musicians, any accountants, plumbers, electricians, architects, builders. We're going to teach them that project we started back in the 50s. That's what you are, a project. So on one hand, we want you having babies with no daddies. And on the other hand, we're going to go with Margaret T. Sanger, and I don't know if the damn woman name is T or not. Margaret Sanger. I know that much. She and that same Frederick Gates, who funded her in her quest for eugenics. And eugenics is to stop them from being born. We can't kill them all. That was the saying. But we can stop them from coming. And then that good old man, Lyndon Baines Johnson, senator from Texas, before he became president. Well, I should say vice president. He became president by assassination of the president. But Lyndon Baines Johnson came up with a way to keep us with our heads bowed, our pockets empty, and believing in things that we can't see, while life passed us by. That's when he gave us the 501c3 section of the tax law that makes the bona fide church a nonprofit organization. And I don't know about you guys in TV land, but everybody that I know, and I don't know personally, when I say know, it's just a knowledge of something. But I would say the majority, because we know it's not all of anything. So let's go with the majority of the individuals that I know of that goes into the nonprofit arena. The motive behind it is profit. How do you know that, Cheryl? You judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. You know, and we're always waiting for somebody to come give us something. And Kwame said it himself. We have some of the richest men and women in the entertainment world that we'll ever have in life. Yet they won't come together and help build centers where we can help these children learn how to read, so they don't have to dummy themselves down and become the roaches and the thugs that our children are called by seemingly all of the big politicians, the Democrats that everybody loves, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, it's amazing. And then if we say any of this that I'm saying, which is probably not going to make it far, you tell me I don't have the right to say any of this. Yet the Constitution says I have a right to free speech. Then they want to remind me, well, when the Constitution was written, you were considered chattel property. Well, in 2021, I'm considered Christian chattel property. Nothing's changed. That good old boy system, we dropped the good old boy and we got the going on get along game, which is one and the same. We talk about the police as if they really care. And again, it's not all or nothing. So when you hear me say they, I'm not talking about every police officer, because I know, and I know from a mother and a woman, the giver of life, that the majority of those people care. Because they're actually willing to do what most of us are not willing to do. They're actually willing to lay down their lives for us. Some of them. But if we understand the history of the police and where it comes from, all we have to do is research. If I could get my people to start researching, starting with the Christian Black Codes of 1724 and the Constitution for the United States, as well as the Constitution of the United States. If I could get my people to understanding who started the two-party system that we live up under, if I can get my people to understand that in 1492 we fell at the Alhambra in Spain. We were known as Moors. So whatever you fall as, you must rise as the same thing. If I could get my people to prove me wrong, and I don't mean by using a book and saying this book is the reason I'm proving you wrong. If you can explain to me why we're not taught finance, politics, civics, denotative linguistics, jurisprudence. If you can explain to me why they have this thing called the law so complicated that we can't even talk about it, they say, unless we have license. My. If you can explain to me the 1871 Organic Act of Congress, all we have to do is research. But I found that most of us really do not know how to read. And they have this beautiful saying, that everybody likes to laugh at. I really would like for you guys to go to YouTube and Google on YouTube. So I don't know if you Toogle, but Google on YouTube. Everyone has a flag except the coon. Who is the coon? And what is the significance of the flag? Do we know? If I could get us to really start having a real conversation with each other so that we can understand when we talk about helping us, the Asiatic Moors, when we talk about doing things as a people, it doesn't exclude other people from our liking human beings. It's called taking care of your own. It goes back to that lion and the lioness and the pride as a family. Nations, where does it come from? Nativity, where does it come from? Navy, where does it come from? Naval, we all have the same birthmark. Life comes from a woman, but yet she's left out of the Trinity. And we seem to think that's okay, and perhaps it is. I'm not going to argue that point with you. I used to think that too. So I understand, understand, and overstand. The only thing I'd like to get you to do is just start thinking. That's all. Just start thinking. Kwame is trying to fight for us. And everybody loves what Kwame is doing. Everybody, yeah, go Kwame, go Kwame, go Kwame. Well, there's a commercial that I really love. And it's from what we call the United States Army. And it tells us to be all that we can be in the Army. But it also asks us to do something else. To become an army of one. Working collectively for the same goal. That's what I ask you. Are you willing to become an army of one, working together for the same goal? A lot of people tell us that, oh, it's just white supremacy and racism. Well, there's only one race. Hate to tell you. It's the human race. And what's being done to us is called Christian hegemony. And once you understand the definition of hegemony, then you'll understand that it's one group of people dominating another. If we would just believe, or I don't know, I don't want to say that word believe because that's kind of what got us into this hopeless, prayerful, put God first situation that we're in today. And trust me, I truly know I know who I am. I'd like for you to learn who you are. And I'd like for you to do it on your own terms. But people, if we're not talking about decolonization and nation building, then we're not talking unalienable rights, birthrights, freedom. They tell us this place in which we live is the land of the free and the home of the brave. I don't know any brave characters that we can speak of that doesn't look like us. Oh, yeah, I do. Because it's not all or nothing. We really do have some European individuals that are honorable and gave up their lives for humanity. And I thank you all. But until we get back in the honor of our mothers and fathers, our ancestors, until we give back Caesar what belongs to Caesar and learn our way of life, I'm not a club member, so I'm not against anyone that is either. I learned Islam. And what I learned about Islam, I, self, law, am master. I learned that I am the stargate to life. In my body, there are no male eggs anywhere. And when I speak my body, I'm speaking as a whole. Because in my 62-year-old body, it ain't no eggs nowhere unless I had them for breakfast. So let's be perfectly clear. I would like to share my life experiences, my hopes and my dreams. I would like to teach our people how to research if you're willing to learn. Because I see this place as America, the land of the free, F-E-E, and the home of the slave, S-L-A-V-E. We have so many people that say that they love us and they're fighting for us and we vote them in office and then they forget about us. Kwame asked us as mothers to take a stand. Everybody that comes in office say they cannot do anything for you black people. They can't do it. Well, when we understand that black is an adjective and describes a thing, and we look at our history and know that they once called us blackamoor, and that they tell our story in movies. You know how you hear this saying, this shit is, you just can't make this shit up. You really can't. It's an imitation of life. Oh, remember that movie, Imitation of Life? Mama! After death is another saying my daddy taught us. Ain't no need to call him a doctor. So she loved Mama when she died. But when Mama was living, she didn't want to be associated with Mama. There is something about denying who you are and not wanting to be who you are. Because those that know who you are will kill you to keep you from coming into the knowledge of who you are. Again, I do not try to change people's beliefs, opinions. Those are individual things. But what I like to do, because I found the answer that I was seeking, is to just give you the keys and allow you to do the research for yourself. And many of us at the age that we are not going to change much. And so what I would just suggest that we would teach these things to our babies. And as Kwame talked about learning how to effectively have a dialogue by asking the questions: what, when, why, where. We also need to learn etymology, the origin of words. A lot of us will say, what is that? The origin of words. A lot of words we use today if we go back to the origin of the word, we'll find that vowels are interchangeable, all vowels, and oftentimes the oppressor, massa, the colonist would change the vowels so they can reflect what they want you, us, me to get out of it. There's so much we do not know. And we argue about the most silliest things. In closing, I must pay homage and respect to my favorite artists. They call them the GOAT. Mo 3, Melvin Nobles Jr. I never met him in life other than through his music. I was introduced to him in late 2017 by a young man that I see as my nephew, my other son, my little brother, my friend. And from the first song, I was hooked. I resonated with his pain because I've lived life and I've been betrayed and I've been hurt. Never been shot at, but had a gun pulled on me. Right to my face. And I ain't gangster. I'm not gang related. But 3 had me running around here talking about on gang. BG for it. I listened to his lyrics. And they speak to the very pain of man. Our men, our children, the ones that can't read past the 4th grade level. The ones who have fathers, but the fathers are not allowed to be around because if the father is around, then you can't find anywhere to stay because you can't afford the rent because they don't pay any money on these jobs. Or the ones who grew up in the projects and generationally, they remain in the projects. Not the mentality, because if you look at Facebook, honey, Instagram, and on any of these other social media sites, you will see the project girls doing their things. They're in Vegas, Puerto Vallarta, Dominican Republic, Belize, Miami, LA, Rodeo Drive. Their children have the PlayStation, whatever the number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's amazing. Yet it's not like it used to be. Our young mothers are committing felonies by constructive delivery, by the way, I should say. Advertising, selling their food stamps monthly. They're telling unemployment they're unemployed. They're telling the IRS, the PPP loan individuals, I'm self-employed. And then they're telling Section 8 and Department of Human Services that administers the aid to families with children and the SNAP food stamp program, I don't have a dime. They have prisons they're building for us, private prisons as well as state prisons. They'd rather spend that money to incarcerate you for the free labor, because they're going to get it back in your work. They're giving sentences that are so long. No human was ever intended to spend that time in a cage. But that's what they're doing. We're getting locked up for anything and everything. And because of the plight of our communities and the gentrification, where they call you 24 hours a day wanting to know if you want to sell your property. Since when did a nigga want to sell their property? Hell, do a nigga own some property? Most of the people I know that owns a deed, it belongs to a damn lot or a plot in a graveyard. And I'll be damned if they don't have the wild hogs coming and digging them up. Oh, it's sad, our plight. And we have a church on every other corner. And the Lord is going to come through for us one day. Had Amy had a stroke, and rest her soul. It took her speech, but it was one thing that she used to say up until the day she died. One day, one day, one day. It is my prayer that one day, my hope, my dream, that my people will start asking the questions. Why is it that nobody likes us? What have we done as a people that would cause the entire system to have a set of laws and then an additional set of laws for the Negro, the colored, the black man, the African American, the Afro American, the Indian, the Mexican, the Latino, labels, legal statuses. Oh, and no, let's get it straight. I am not an attorney. And I would tell anyone, I am not a doctor, psychiatrist, surgeon, theologian. But I can tell you this, in my 62 years of life, where you pursued the degree, I read the same books, and reading is fundamental. So I would ask of you to join me on my journey as it continues to unfold, to discover who we are. Let's get involved and let's help Kwame with these reading centers and these shoes for these young men with the big feet. We all know some little old bitty boys in age, giants in stature. Let's help them become the men that the Creator, their Creator, intended them to be. Cussing is my second language, and I'm going to do my best not to do much of it. But shit, I love it, so I'm not going to not do it. I can tell you that right now. I'm grateful that I'm here in this place that we call a country. I'm so grateful because I have the freedom to supposedly speak. So I'm grateful. I hope that you have enjoyed this hour with me. I am going to do this often. One of my first sessions that I want to start with is You Have Rights Too, helping fathers navigate through the system. Have you ever wondered why all of the metaphors have to do with water? Up the ship without a paddle. Relationship, kinship, friendship, entrepreneurship. Bridge over troubled water. I can't wait until my ship come in, because we are the navigators of the sea. I'd like for you to just start studying, if you will, the first 6 articles of the Constitution and pay close attention to Article 3, 4, and 6. I'd like for you to get a Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, an Etymology Dictionary, and they have a free one online. I'd like for you to get some old dictionaries, so I would suggest you go to the half-price bookstore. The old dictionaries are like the old Oxford's dictionaries. Of course, you can do Webster. Matter of fact, you can do other law dictionaries, but we mainly use the 4th edition, Black's Law, and that's because basically that's what the people that we call our Congress and our Supreme Justices use. I thank you for giving me your time if you've lived this far. I want us to support one another. I hope that you will join me as I try to launch this page and help my people. I'm just going to talk about everyday life things, Again, my life, your life. One day I'll be doing some lives, but of course, until I get 1,000 subscribers, we can only do supposedly tapes. So I'm going to get ready to close. I would like for you to like this video and subscribe if you would. Thank you for your time. This is the Voice of Cheryl, and I'm going to say goodbye.